today I'm showing you, as promised, like how you can create your own PJ set just the way you want it to. It's a very long process though, but it is not that tough. If I can make it, you guys can make it too. So without any further ado, let's get started. Before proceeding to the tutorial, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, and now let's go.
First, let's trace all the patterns. For that, you'll need a brown paper, a shirt of your correct fitting. Now to trace the back, fold the shirt into half like this and open up the collar to trace the neckline easily. Now keep the folded side of the shirt over the folded side of the paper. Now don't worry about the length fitting inside the paper. We can extend that in the cutting of the fabric later. And start putting some pins in to hold the fabric with paper, as well as the mattress of the bed. Now put the sleeves inside to get the armholes shape out. Now this is the neckline that we will be tracing and not the collar stand, and you can see that the armhole and side seams are all the way out after pinning as well. Now trace the shape, keeping an inch or so for seam allowance. And if your shirt is a fitted one, make the side seams a little extra loose, as the night suit shirts are loose so that they can be comfortable. Now write back on it so you don't forget, and flip the paper to trace the front. Fold the shirt again, but this time the front should be out, and pin it on the paper just like we did before for the back. The only difference is that you will need to leave an inch or two space on the fold where the buttons are of the shirt. Start tracing all the sides, leaving an inch for seam allowance. Make sure to get the neckline traced properly. There is one more way by which you can trace the neckline, that is by creating holes on the paper by pushing the pins on the neckline, leaving an inch for the seam. And now when you remove the collar away, you will see the markings that you just made with the pin, and then you can just join them. Now for the sides, I'm again extending it a little bit. Open up the paper fold and cut the pattern out. Just make sure that the shoulders of both the front and back matches. Now to trace the sleeves, take a folded paper and pin the front side of the sleeve to the paper, keeping the folded side of the paper and sleeves together. And start tracing, leaving an inch for seam allowance. For armhole, I'm using the pin method again, that is by punching holes inside the paper through the shirt easily, leaving an inch for seam allowance. Now as you can see, there are two markings, that is the lower markings are the holes where we pinned the shirt to the paper, and the top markings are the one which we marked right now. So we join those points like so. Now once again, right front on it, and then mark a point where the armhole curve was to know from where to begin in the back side. Now pin the back of the sleeve at the other side of the sheet and start tracing just the way we did the front. Once done, cut it out as well. Now onto the collar. Measure the collar length of your shirt. Here it's about 16.5 inches approx, so reduce 3 inches from it for our night suit collar, that is the rounded collar, and that would be about 13.5 here. Then add half an inch for seam allowance, so that would be 14 inch. Take a piece of paper, fold it into half and divide 14 inch by 2, so that would be 7. So draw a straight line first and mark 7 inch over it. Now measure the width of the collar. Here it's 3 inches, then add half inch for seam allowance and mark 3.5, that is my measurement for the width on the sheet. So I'm basically drawing a rectangle of 7 and 3.5 inch measurements. Now then mark 2 points of 1 centimeter above the two lines on the folded edge like so. Then join the other side corners with the just made points to make a round collar, and then cut it out. Now to make the interfacing for the shirt, place the front pattern over a sheet and then trace the button side as well as neckline, and take about 2 inches of shoulder as well, and then draw a straight line from the shoulder point to the bottom edge. Now to make the pattern for pajamas, take your existing one, fold it showing back out first and place it over the paper, leaving some space on top. Now trace the side seams that is below the crotch and then measure the crotch and then reduce 1 inch kid and 2 inch for adults and mark that on the waistline. Then on top, add the width of the elastic that you will use plus half an inch for seam allowance. Now from there, draw a straight line and mark the waistline point on it and then join that point with the crotch and mark it as back, and do the same with the front. And guys, don't worry about the length, take all the length directly onto the fabric when you cut it out, because we don't have that much sheet, so we are just taking as much as we can. Once all the patterns are done, cut the fabric pieces as well for all the patterns. Let's start with the collar first. Cut 2 pieces of it, then also cut 1 piece of fusible interfacing, which you can easily get in a sheet form from any button store or even from your tailor at a very cheap price. Then on one collar piece wrong side, place the fusible interfacing, also called as thin buckram or fabric buckram, and iron over it. So once done, take piping of your choice. Here I'm taking this ready-made one, but it's super easy to make it of your own as well using some piping cords. And simply just pin it on the collar right side edge, making sure that the cord in it is facing inside and not out, like so, and then pin all the way to the other side and stitch over it, and the stitch should be very close to the piping in it. And use zipper foot for this, which is available on Amazon at a very cheap price. Then place the other collar piece wrong side out over it and stitch over it again, making sure that the piping is very close to the stitching and it is in the inner portion of the stitch. Once done, make some cuts on the corners only to the fabric and not on stitching, and then turn the collar right side out, and this is how it should look. Fold it in half and make a tiny notch at the corner to mark the midpoint of it. Now keep it aside. Now take the back piece and 2 front pieces, place them over each other, that is wrong side out, and pin the shoulders and stitch them. Once done, fold the shirt in half and cut excess back neckline if any, and make a notch here as well to mark the midpoint. Now place the collar's midpoint over the back neckline's midpoint and pin the bottom layer of the collar with the back piece. And guys, here the shirt piece is right side out and the collar is placed over the back piece right side. Pin the entire collar's one layer with the shirt like so and stitch over it. Once done, this is how the collar on the right side of the shirt will look like. Now attach the piping on the opening of the front pieces of the shirt, and which is also called as placket, and the piping is always attached first to the right side of the fabric and not to the wrong side. Start from where the collar ends, leave some extra piping at the start, and then start doing it till the bottom edge, and repeat the same on the other flap of the front piece as well. Once stitched in place, this is how it should look like on both the pieces. Now take the extra piping of the collar and the placket, that is the flap, and stitch them together so that they look neat. Do it on both the sides. Cut out 2 interfacing pieces and iron the fusible sheet over them as well to make them stiff. Then place each of them wrong side out on top of the placket piping, which is on the right side of the shirt, and make sure that is the inside of the collar is visible, and pin the interfacing over the collar, leaving about 2 inch in the beginning unpinned so that we can stitch it later, and stitch both the interfacing in place. Once done, pull the piping out like so that the interfacing goes inside the shirt like this. Now let's finish the collar by first putting the stitch inside so that we can hide it, and keeping the upper layer of the collar folded inside over it and pin it. Once pinned the entire collar, stitch over it. Once done, take those flaps that we left unstitched before and fold them inside and stitch them to the shoulder line for easy movement. Make sure to hem the raw edges of the interfacing pieces by either zigzag stitch or the double folding method. Once done, do a top stitch over the piping, starting from one front flap to collar, then to the another placket to set the piping nicely. Now onto the sleeves. Cut 2 pieces of it and first fold the hemming side so you know how much part will be hemmed. Then once pinned, take 2 inch from the bottom edge and mark it, and then draw a straight line and cut it. Then attach piping to the right side of the top sleeve. Again, the pipe in it should be towards the sleeve, and then take the bottom edge of the sleeve and place over the piping wrong side out and stitch the piping in place. Once done, always top stitch the piping, and this is how the sleeve should look like. Now don't forget to hem the bottom as well. Now fold the sleeve and cut a notch in its midpoint and pin that midpoint to the shoulder seam of the armhole of the shirt, and pin the entire sleeve and then stitch them in place. Once done, close the shirt side seams by stitching the sleeve and the shirt side seams like so. Then hem the bottom edge by double folding like so, and add some buttonholes and buttons, which I totally forgot to show you guys, and you're done with the shirt. Now to the easy pajamas. Cut 2 pieces of it from the pattern and do the same piping with them just like we did for the sleeves, and then keep the back sides of the both pieces together and front with the front of course, and pin them till the crotch like this, and then separate the 2 legs and pin them together like so. Then stitch the top sides together like this, front and back, and then the separate leg side seams. Then once done, create a casing for the elastic by double folding the top edge, which should be according to the width of the elastic you will be using, and stitch it in place, leaving few inches unstitched. Then insert the elastic from the unstitched part and cut the excess out, and then stitch the 2 sides of it together to close it, and then put it back in the casing and then close the casing, and you're done.
So that was it for today's tutorial, guys. I hope you liked it. If you did, please don't forget to hit that like button, share with your friends, and also subscribe to my channel because that would mean a lot to me, and we're super close to 250k now. So you better get started and hit that subscribe button right now. Also don't forget to follow me on my Instagram page that is right over here, and this is how my feed looks like, and I hope you guys follow me over there because we are off to reach 15k now. So today's feature goes out to Shiny, Namira and Arpita. Thank you so much guys for commenting on my channel. If you also want to get featured on my next video, all you have to do is turn on that notification bell button and also subscribe to my channel. And also comment down below if you have hit that notification bell button on or not. And yeah, I'll see you in my next video guys. Bye.